So for me, then, my focus will be on how can we optimize employee experience to be able to not only attract, but retain the top talent in our organization. That's the key focus on how we can be able to optimize. Now that we know what employee experience is all about, how about the optimization? Because we all know the benefit, but how come we drop the ball now and then? So for those who've not interacted with corporate staffing, allow me to just briefly talk about the organization that I represent. So we've been in the market for the last 13 years, as even Waithaka has mentioned, and we are accredited by IHRM. This is the body that governs the HR profession. And we're also members of NITA. So we are accredited to offer the various learning and development programs that we have. So we are based here in Westlands. We have a staff complement of 28 work directly here and 42 who outsource to our various clients. And as you can see from the screen, we do support various clients from various industries. We have NGOs, we have financial services, we have hospitalities, we even have trading, example of Davies and Shatrif. So our clients, they cut across and they are spread throughout the larger East Africa. So we've been able to support clients in Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, and even Rwanda. In terms of what we do a lot on a day-to-day basis, I would say recruitment accounts for 50% of our business, then followed with learning and development, that is training. Then we have employee outsourcing services, and then we also support candidates with various services. So on this topic of employee experience, at the end of the training, for me, my goal is to be able to convince you at least on why you should invest in a positive employee experience. And the key word for me here being should, being intentional. If there's a term that has been misused in HR, is that employee our greatest resource. And we say that when you're in forums, we say that when you're having media engagement, and it sounds well, but how many of us live to that? So the question is, how can we be more intentional? How can we live this on a day-to-day basis? Because every manager knows for us to get the best from the employees, every leader knows for us to get the best from the people who report to us, it is important they have a positive employee experience. But then the challenge is what happens between day one and the day that year when we pay them, And sometimes it comes to our attention that things have not been very well when you see a resignation from someone you didn't expect, from someone who all along you thought that things were good. Sometimes someone gives you a resignation, you desperately need them, you offer them a counter offer, but they tell you, no, my time is done. Or you hire this person, they were really promising from the beginning, at the start, but within 4 or 5 months, just after confirmation, they're not doing much. This is not the person you hired. What happened? So for me, the big question is, how can we be more intentional in making sure as leaders, we deliver a positive employee experience? And if you're able to master the art of, giving a positive employee experience, how will this benefit you? Number one, let's look at how this impacts you as a leader. Now, having been in the people business for the last 13 years, I would say over 70% of the people management challenges that you are currently facing right now, they will either reduce or even you'll be able to eliminate them if you prioritize a positive employee experience. So right now, if you have a staff who's really not motivated, if you have people, they don't report on time, if you have people who the quality of their work is not up to standard, if you have staff who, you can tell they're doing the bare minimum, I can tell you, if you flip the conversation now and not so much focus on what they are not doing, but focus on how can I be able to improve on the experience, I'll tell you that you'll be able to minimize some of the challenges that you're going through. Because sometimes we focus on the symptoms rather than the problem. Focus on the problem, on the real issue, not the symptoms. Because some of those things that manifest themselves, people coming late, people not be able to give you the reports on time, what you're looking at, those are the symptoms. You know, the challenge is how can you as a reader to have a mind shift to be able to know, well, yes, here are the symptoms, but have I really focused on the real issue, on the problem? Because only then will you be able to get a long-term solution and be able to get the productivity, be able to get the performance from this stuff. So by the end of the day, you'll be able to see if you flip your mindset, because it's a mindset. Employee experience is all about mindset. If you'll be able to flip your mind, 70% of the issues that you're facing will be able, even if not, even if you not be able to eliminate them fully, at least you'll be able to reduce them. And how will these impact the organization? Like I said, the days of saying employee greatest asset is long gone. Just look at how your department is doing. Look at how your organization is doing. That's a good indicator of the experience or the relationship you have with your staff. That's the best indicator. So it's not what you wish. The reality is numbers. Numbers don't lie. Before changing profession to HR, I was an accountant. I'm a certified public accountant. And at least one thing I knew from the very beginning is that numbers don't lie. You know, a debit is a debit, a credit is a credit. You know, you look, if it's a balance sheet, they tell you these are the assets and these are the liabilities, and it will never change. Whether you go to Rwanda, the balance sheet remains the same. Whether you go to the US, it remains the same. So it's the same way with the employees. The relationship we have with them, especially our direct reports. You know, at the end of the day, if you've not been able to achieve your goals, if you've not been able to achieve whatever plans you had, it circles back to the experience. It circles back to the relationship that you have here with the employee. So again, for the organization, the better the experience the employee have in your organization, the more they'll be able to deliver. And as someone who recruits for various organizations, I would say the reality is you cannot pay someone enough to stay in a toxic work environment. You can't. Every day, I mean, I get distress calls. Someone telling you, Perminus, I want to change this job. Yes, I'm earning 700,000 shillings, but ukipata kitu ya 300,000, I'm okay. I'm ready to take that. And some of these people, they are coming from very notable organizations. And when you have a candid chat with them, you ask them, why would you even be looking for a salary cut? And someone will tell you, it's toxic. I'm not either getting along with the board or I'm not getting along with my boss. It is never about the work demands. Rarely will it be performance issues. It's all about relationship. Yeah. So today, if you want to go home and at the end of the month, you be happy with what is happening within your department or organization, then we need to prioritize on the employee experience. So as you can see, there are benefits that accrue to you as a leader and to the organization when you put the employee interest ahead. So I want us to look at these two terms. So is employee experience the same as employee engagement? So again, I would want to hear from you. You can go to the chart. Employee experience versus employee engagement. Are we talking about the same thing?
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we can also engage verbally. You can raise your hand and we can call you out so that you can be able to give your thoughts, because sometimes we can speak faster than we can type. So you're welcome to do that.
Yeah. We want you to be engaged. So when we talk about employee experience versus employee engagement, yes, Irene or Euribia, all our energy now saying no, experience affects and engagement, so they are not one and the same thing. True. Employee experience versus employee engagement.
Perminus, McKenna had written just before that, experience is the sentiment. Yes. Engagement is the interaction.
Good, yes. McKenna Mantu, experience is the sentiment, engagement is the interaction. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Oh, Maroba, good friend. Employee engagement is an outcome of employee experience. Perfect. So when you talk about employee experience, this is a means to an end. It's what you do as a leader on a day-to-day basis. And employee engagement is the end goal. It's what you get from your interaction with the employees. So you cannot define employee engagement. You can't. It's the outcome. Yeah. So, and you can see the definitions down here. Employee engagement is the extent or degree to which an employee is willing and able to do their best and walk the extra mile. It's the component and result of a good approach to the employee experience. So you cannot call an employee to the office and ask them to be engaged. No. But it's the sum total of the experience that they have with you as a boss and with the organization that will shape how engaged they'll be. And so you can see as readers, a lot of us, especially the medium-sized firms, and even the big multinationals, and sometimes the big multinationals will fall into the trap of, we are paying you well, we're even paying you above market rate. And in fact, if you leave this seat, I'm going to call Perminus, and within 1 week, we'll have profile. So why are you not working hard? Why should we continue having you? Those are the conversations we have. But you can't force someone to be engaged, just like you can't force someone to love you. You know, even when it comes to personal relationship, you can't force someone to feel you. What matters now is the experiences that you give them that now shape the opinion and the perception they have of you. And if it's positive, then they'll be engaged. If it's not positive, the reverse is they'll be disengaged. Yeah. So even as we demand, for people to deliver, for people to feel as part and parcel of the organization, let it be clear that it's not within our powers. We can't. What is within our powers is the kind of experience we give them that automatically then the staff, and especially if you have the right people on board, then automatically they'll be engaged. So employee experience, it's a means to end, it's what you do. Whereas the employee engagement is the end goal. It's what you get from what you offer. But then are employees created the same? I would say no. So as you all know, in HR, there are 3 types of employees. So number 1, you have the engaged, the not engaged, and the actively disengaged. So I'll start with the number 3, actively disengaged. These are the people we know, some of them report to us. These are people we should have fired 1.5 years ago. Because yes, they might be having a problem and you've tried to intervene. Some of them, if the organizational problems have you, and you've done all you could, but this person is not changing, then separation is an option. Yeah. If it's a personal matter, you've tried also all you can do. At least here you can try to go out of your way and try to help them. You know. So actively disengaged employees, and they're normally, I would say, thank God, we are talking about in any organization, 15 to 25% of the employees, they'll be actively disengaged. And also, but also this depends on the overall organization, or how the quality of the workplace. The number 2, we have the not engaged, and these are the where we need to focus on. Any organization, 60 to 70% of the employees, they're just there doing the bare minimum for the sole reason that we've not been able to engage them. So there are people who will report exactly on time. They'll give you the report that you're requesting. But if you ask them to go that extra mile, they're not there. They're there for the paycheck, nothing else. And these are the people who, if you carry out a redundancy and you do away with the 30% of the workforce, the organization will still run. And you wonder, what happened? I let go of that of my workforce, but the numbers are still good. We've not been affected. It's because they've been doing the bare minimum. Then we have number 1, the engaged employee. We still have to think about them. Rarely do we do, but these are people who are doing their best. They're the people, the staff who are going that extra mile. And sometimes, because they don't make noise, you know, sometimes we can disregard them. But at least I know it's easier to engage these ones, because even as readers, we feel a connection with them. You know, if someone is really delivering and even going over and beyond your expectation, you'll have a connection with them. So it's easier to engage them. But the rot that we really need to think about is these 60 to 70% who are not, you know, who are checked out. These are the people who we need to engage. And I believe if we're able to raise our employee experience, then you can be able to reduce the number from the 60 to 70% to the 40%, because the reality is not everyone will be engaged to the extent that you'd wish. And in terms of engaged, you'll find it's normally between 15 again to 20%. So the bulk of the employees that really need our attention are these ones, yeah, who are not engaged. And they're the ones who are dragging the institution down. They're the ones who are really making your department struggle, yeah. So in terms of these, when you talk about employee experience, I'm not talking about performance issues. I'm not talking about employees who have disciplinary issues, because those have to be looked at differently. And a lot of them, unfortunately, will fall under category number 3, actively disengaged. I'm talking about number 1 and number 2, who can make a great difference. If you pay attention to them, they can make a great difference in your organization. And is this also applicable in our personal life? Yes, I'm being told I have a few minutes left, so I'll rush. So there's a story, there's something that happened in Mombasa towards the end of last month. And here you can see, I don't know whether you're able to read, but there was a police constable, who died after he was run over by a motorist at the busy junction of Mombasa Island, frantically pleading with motorists to rush him to hospital as he lay on the tarmac, fighting for his life. So this policeman died, and motorists were passing by, but they couldn't take him to the hospital. Why? Because we all know the relationship we have with the law enforcement authorities in this country. And I know right now, if you met someone on the street and they are distressed and they don't look like they are faking it, most of us would try to do something. But the police, the relationship we have with them, it's a good example of how someone can behave when they are disengaged. Let's look at another example in real life. Look at our politicians. So here is a photo of our politician. And if there's something they do well, they're very good at engagement. They're very good at giving their supporters an experience. And that is why they'll dedicate their whole day, they'll go to these campaigns, they'll champion them, they'll talk with a lot of conviction. If there's something that Kenyans really are passionate about, is politics. And some of these people we defend and will be ready to die for, they are not even people we have a personal connection with. But somehow, it's something that politicians have done. So you'd imagine if your staff would be able to represent the organization this way, what difference it can make. Yeah. So what defines employee experience? So as we saw, it represents a sum of employee thoughts, observation, and senses during each stage of their journey through an organization. And I would say the relationship is defined by 2 things. There's the normal formal contract that we are all familiar with. And today I would want to introduce to you the psychological contract. And this is what carries the day. So when you talk about the psychological contract, what is it? Psychological contract is an agreement, unwritten but understood, that outlines the expectation, beliefs, ambitions, and obligations that characterize the relationship between the employer and the employee. And from day one, it influences how employees behave. And it is built on the action that leaders at the company take. So when the employee comes and they are told that, here, you have to wait for 8 years for you to be promoted, because they'll be told that the first week. Forget about the orientation that you did. It's important, but that only counts 15%. 85% of how the staff will behave will be what they'll hear at the cafeteria. It will be what they hear when they go for lunch. They'll be told, don't talk to this person. This boss, document everything. These are live wire, because we are as a kuluka. Those are the real conversations these staff will have that first week when they report. And you might have had a very good, induction process. But 80% of how they'll behave, the information they'll get, 80% of what now will influence how they'll behave in the organization is what they'll hear. Promises. Sometimes we will make all manner of promises. Yeah, if we confirm you, the salary will be increased. Then we make sure you don't put it on paper. So this person delivers. But because it's not on paper, what happens now? You come and you confirm them. And maybe because they don't have a job, they're desperate, they'll agree. But what have you said now? What kind of relationship now are you at? This person did their best, but you didn't. If they come to the organization and they hear, no, for you to be promoted, you have to come from this certain tribe, whether it's true or not. But if your track record is the last 4 people who've been promoted from your department are from one tribe, that's what they'll hear. So it's not the formal contract that you carry the day. It's what we call the psychological contract. So what defines this psychological contract? Number one, as you can see, the framework here, the workplace is what carries the day first. Before even the deal, what you're offering them, the money. And then that will define whether the staff will be satisfied and productive. It's as simple as that. It starts with the workplace. Yeah, money is secondary. You know, and where the employee experience is high, it leads to a high quality workplace. And you can see where the employer delivers on their promises and the employees also deliver on their promises. And it's based on what? Not the formal contract. It's based on fairness, trust, commitment, well-being, and performance. So someone knows if I work overtime, if I work up to 8:30, at least there'll be transport and there might be even dinner. Or if there's no dinner, if there's no allowance, at least there'll be transport. If you do not offer overtime, but you cannot tell me to work past 8:30 and you don't provide any, there's no overtime, there's no transport, you will not get for me an Uber. And you know, I'll not be compensated. So if you're not looking after my well-being, why would I perform? You know, so these are the real issues. So how do you apply the psychological contract to the employee relationship? For me, what I would request us as readers is to personalize the experience. You know, and you can see here from the beginning, you can personalize, you can look at it from the individual perspective, age, gender, education, level in the organization, you know, or the organizational. You know, the way NGOs behave is not the same way as the manufacturing firm operates. It's not the same. Yeah, you wouldn't treat. There are various dynamics that are not applicable in the non-profit that are applicable in manufacturing. And the purpose of personalizing all these experiences is we are looking after the outcome. 2 things: attitude, you want to shape the attitude, and you want to shape the behavior. You know, and attitude, you're looking at the organizational commitment, work satisfaction, work-life balance, job security, things you can be able to measure, the attitude, versus things that you can be able now to measure, the attendance, you know, how long they stay with you, job performance, etc. So what causes psychological contract to break? I'll not go through all these that I've mentioned, but I would say 3 things affect: communication, fairness, and trust. It doesn't matter. You could be carrying out the worst redundancy. You could be letting 90% of the staff go. It's how you communicate. People know redundancies exist. The staff know. The staff know when if it's fairness. You cannot be, you as a manager, people know your salary has been increased, but you've never defended your team. But when it comes to your team, all we talk about is, you know, how tough things are. But one way or another, they will know either through the grapevine or even your behavior. You see that you bought a new Mercedes. You know, where is the fairness? Then the issue of trust, which is a 2-way street. Yeah. So the things that break the psychological contract: communication, fairness, and trust. So where we have a positive psychological contract, it affects the organizational commitment, job satisfaction, work-life balance, all that, all the way to the employer brand. There are people right now who we get a brief from them, you call us, corporate staffing, we come to recruit for you. We go out there in the market. When they hear it's organization ABC, they say, Perminus, what are you, Ikai? I don't want that job. Every month, there are 2 organizations. They're willing to pay us very well. In fact, even the salary they are paying is very good. But we come back to them and tell them, unfortunately, we can't be able to do this. Why? Because this is the reputation you have. And it's either the entire organization or the boss. Those are the only 2 things that affect. Yeah. So if you don't take care of your positive employee experience, you'll have the staff who are checked out. You know, and you can see this is a very good example of a staff who's checked out. They are very good at doing painting the road, but the day they found this log, it couldn't have taken them 5 minutes to just remove this log. But what did they do? You can see what they did. Yeah, this is a good example of an employee who has checked out. So I know time is of essence. So how can you tell whether your employees are engaged now that you know what employee experience is and how you can go about, making sure you have the psychological contract to take care of it, yeah, so these are the symptoms these are the things that will indicate whether employees are engaged. The sense that an employee is working to the clock on a daily basis. An employee may also be delivering work rate or taking longer to complete tasks. A change in attitude, especially this one, number 3, a change in attitude. Someone who was proactive, engaged, all of a sudden they become temperamental. You can't ask them questions. They look they throw back at you. Emails, they reply after 2 days. That's attitude is a very good indicator of the person's state of engagement. So then is there a scientific way of knowing whether really the real situation? I would say, yes, there is. And I would really recommend every firm every year to do employee satisfaction survey. And there are a few people here who we've done for. If we had time, maybe I would have requested them to say something. But I've seen this being a game changer, the employee satisfaction survey. And you'll hear things you may not want to hear as a manager. You will as a leader. But you'd rather get to know what your employees think, because it's the only way you'll be able, like Waidaka told us, if you're not able to track your expenses, then how can you be able to create wealth if you don't know where the money you're making is going, at the first instance? So it's the same case. And you see, this is an example. I've gotten this from some of the clients that we support with the employee satisfaction survey. Someone saying issues of working on Saturdays are still not discussed. Even if you do what in company X, no one will even say a thanks in a word of mouth. So you can imagine this stuff. They don't have an issue with salary. They don't have an issue with their boss, but appreciation is lacking. Someone is saying your production manager is not social to workers. It is not that the production manager is not competent, but this person feels this person doesn't say hi, this person is not social. And that matters to this person. Yeah. So invest in employee satisfaction, I would say, on an annual basis. Yeah. So where do we start now? Where do we start when it comes to the employee in terms of the experience? I would say it's all start with us leaders. And you see here, I have numbers, which are quite interesting. Percentage of employees answering yes to the question, if you could fire your current boss, would you do so or not? 51% who actively disengaged said yes. So you can see it's the relationship here. 23% are not engaged. And you can see the relationship we have really matters. 6% of the staff it's only 6% of the staff who are engaged who would want to let their boss go. Another survey which was done in the US, 45% of workers polled said they would willingly forgo a substantial pay rise in exchange for seeing their direct supervisor fired. That's how the situation is. 45%. I don't know, we've not done a research. Maybe Martin of High Performance can do, but these are the numbers. 40. So it all goes back to the relationship that we have. It's not the formal contract, it's a psychological contract. So the solution, what would I advocate? Number one, hire leaders who can read and build engagement. So look for more than technical skills. The fact that someone is a good accountant does not mean they're ready to be a chief accountant. The fact that someone is a salesperson, they bring in the numbers, it doesn't mean that they can be able to be a sales manager. Because when it comes to leadership, and for me, I've learned this the hard way, I would rather get someone, when it comes to leadership position, who is technically good, 60%, they know the job, and 40% they can be able to manage people, as opposed to getting someone who is 90% good technical-wise, but people's skills are less than 10%. So go for more than just the technical skills. The other bit is train them on leadership skills and emotional intelligence. Just like we are going to learn today, or we've learned from Centonomy, you being able to manage your finances, it's a skill. That is why accountants, bankers, some of us die poor with all the MBAs we have. And yet you find someone who did not go to school and they operate in this shop at River Road. They are doing well financially. Why? Because If leadership, financial skills, all these soft skills, they are skills, ability to do something. Do you know how to do something? Not the theory part of it, the practical aspect of it. Yeah. So please train your leadership team on the leadership skills. What does it take to be a leader, and about emotional intelligence? Those two are the trainings I would really recommend. Then hold the leaders accountable. Again, numbers don't lie. If one department, discuss the turnover. What are you doing? What monthly initiatives do you have to make sure that your team, your department is engaged? And then the nature of human beings, people want certainty. Are you following your processes? If you have a HR policy that says this is the disciplinary process, don't break it. Even if you've caught someone with their pants down, take them through the process. Because people, you know, if you do here ABCD, you'll be taken through the process. And even if someone exit, everyone knows in the organization, oh, the company, you know, they made sure they covered all grounds. As opposed to, there are many situations I find also employers, we fire people, you don't follow the due process. What you don't know that it doesn't just impact on that one staff. What do you go out that we don't follow the processes? So again, you break the psychological contract because you've not adhered to that aspect of fairness. So as I come to the end, what is the role of HR? Identify organization-wide issues, lead from the front, you know, be a role model, drive cultural change. I know some of us are working in institutions that, you know, especially this part of culture is not easy, but don't give up. There's still something you can be able to do. How can we support you? The 140 people who are tuned in, how can I be able to support you as corporate staffing? Like I said, we do offer employee satisfaction survey. And on an annual basis, we support over 30 firms where we conduct for them the annual satisfaction survey. We also offer the 360-degree feedback survey. So this is where you get to hear from your direct reports. What do they think about you? You know, the various aspects of leadership, whether it's your ability to bring the team together, your understanding of the business, your motivation. So we can customize the survey to suit what you're looking for. Then we do offer also leadership skills and also the emotional intelligence. And if there's a position you do want to recruit, you know, those hard to fill position, please do get in touch and I'll be able to support you.